Okay, so you want to own a hotel, walk through a polished lobby with your name behind the deal, watch guests roll suitcases across the marble, and rent the same rooms again every single night. Weddings fill the ballroom, business travelers take the weekdays, families take the weekends. One building, hundreds of doors, and every door can produce money over and over again. That is the picture. Here is the part the lobby hides. At 11:59 tonight, an empty room still has value. 1 minute later, that room night is gone forever. You cannot save it, you cannot move it to next week. You cannot sell it twice tomorrow to make up for missing tonight. The bed remains, the building remains, the obligations remain, the inventory does not. That is the central pressure inside hotel ownership. You are trying to finance a permanent asset with a product that expires every midnight. And once you understand that, the rest of the business starts to look different. A full lobby can still hide weak income. A higher room count can create a worse investment. A famous brand can create demand without owning the building. And a hotel can keep welcoming guests, while the company that once held the economic interest in it is already on the way out. Before we get there, you need to buy or build the thing. A recent United States hotel development survey from HVS put the median cost across surveyed projects at roughly $213,000 per room. The exact number can move dramatically with land, labor, financing, location, local requirements, design, and service level, so that median is not a price quote. The useful comparison is simpler. A 150-room select service hotel at roughly $200,000 per room implies around $30 million of development cost. Give the same room count a full-service model at roughly $467,000 per room, and the implied cost becomes about $70,050,000. Same number of keys. More than twice the capital. The difference is everything wrapped around the room. Kitchens, meeting spaces, public areas, laundry capacity, elevators, staff corridors, mechanical systems, parking, furniture, technology, safety systems, professional fees, permits, pre-opening work, and interest during the years when the property is still a construction site. A typical hotel development can take roughly 3 to 5 years. The loan can be accruing cost while the lobby is still concrete and wiring. Every delay pushes the first paying guests farther away without pushing the bills with them. So you skip the construction risk and buy an operating hotel. The rooms are already furnished. The booking system is already taking reservations. There is a general manager, a housekeeping schedule, and a breakfast service ready for tomorrow morning. That feels safer. Then the first folder lands on your desk. A floor needs renovation. The elevators are approaching a major service. The rooms still function, but guests have started describing them as tired. The brand wants upgrades if you expect to keep the name. The previous owner delayed work that did not look urgent in the sales photographs. You bought an operating hotel. You also bought every deadline the last owner left behind. The renovation decision looks simple until you put it on a calendar. Close rooms in the busy season and you lose some of the most valuable nights of the year. Wait for the slow season and a delay can push construction into the next demand peak. Postpone the work and the hotel may lose rate, reviews, group business, or compliance with brand standards. There is no option marked leave everything exactly as it is. That is what the purchase price does not tell you. It tells you what it costs to take control. It does not tell you what the building will ask for next. Keep one real case in the background. 2 major San Francisco hotels carrying the Hilton name contained a combined 2,945 rooms. They were tied to a $725 million non-recourse commercial mortgage-backed securities loan. From the street, they looked like enormous, recognizable hotel assets in one of the best-known cities in the country. The interesting part is not that they had a large loan. The interesting part is what happened while the hotels were still hotels. Leave them there for a moment. To understand the pressure building underneath those properties, start with one ordinary room. Say your hotel has 150 rooms. Across a 365-day year, that creates 54,750 room nights available to sell. At 70% occupancy, you sell 38,325 of them. Give those sold rooms an average daily rate of $160. And annual room revenue comes to roughly $6,132,000. Now change one thing. Keep occupancy at 70%. Keep the same number of guests, the same number of occupied beds, the same number of rooms for housekeeping to clean. Lower the average rate to $140. Annual room revenue falls to roughly $5,365,500. The hotel looks equally busy. It produces $766,500 less room revenue. That is why occupancy is one of the most seductive numbers in this business. It is visible. A packed breakfast room feels successful. A line at the front desk feels successful. A full parking lot feels successful, but occupancy only tells you how much inventory moved. It does not tell you what the hotel had to give up to move it. Hotels use average daily rate, or ADR, to measure the average room revenue from sold rooms. They use revenue per available room, or RevPAR, to combine rate and occupancy. In the first example, 70% occupancy at a $160 average rate produces RevPAR of $112. That number is useful. It still stops too early. RevPAR does not show payroll, utilities, insurance, property tax, repairs, brand fees, management fees, debt payments, or capital work. It tells you how well available rooms became room revenue. It does not tell you what survived for the owner. And there is another problem hiding inside the lower price. An empty room earns nothing, so why not keep discounting until someone books it? Because the room is not free to sell. One guest books directly. Another comes through a loyalty program. Another arrives under a corporate contract. Another is part of a wedding block. Another uses a third-party travel platform. They may all stand in the same elevator and sleep on the same floor. They do not necessarily leave the same value behind. Some bookings carry commissions or other acquisition costs. Some trade a lower rate for dependable volume. Some help fill event space along with bedrooms. Some give the hotel or brand a direct relationship with a customer who may return. Others leave that relationship with the platform that delivered the booking, so $140 is not automatically better than zero. You have to know what it costs to create that booking, whether it displaces a stronger one, and whether the guest is part of a demand source the hotel can depend on again. This is why room pricing changes by date. The hotel is not deciding what a room is worth in general. It is deciding what tonight's room is worth to the next customer before the clock reaches midnight. That pressure moves through the whole building. On Saturday night, the ballroom looks like proof that the full-service model was worth every dollar. Tables are full, food is moving, music is playing. Guests upstairs have booked room blocks. The lobby feels alive. Come back Tuesday afternoon. The room is empty. The carpet still occupies expensive space. The kitchen equipment is still there. Tables, chairs, storage, heating, cooling, cleaning, insurance, sales staff, event staff, and maintenance do not disappear because the dance floor is quiet. The ballroom may still be valuable. It can create group demand and help fill rooms, but the owner is not paid for having a beautiful room. The owner is paid when the demand that room creates outruns the operating system attached to it. A restaurant works the same way. It may support room pricing and group business. It also adds food cost, payroll, refrigeration, waste, inspections, equipment, and long operating hours. A pool can help sell the property in one photograph. The owner gets the heating bill after the photograph is taken. This is why more revenue departments do not automatically create a better hotel. They create more ways to earn and more ways for fixed complexity to sit idle. Then the guest checks out. The room appears empty for a different reason now. The product has been used and has to be rebuilt before the next person arrives. The sheets come off, towels move to laundry, the bathroom is cleaned, supplies are replaced. Someone checks the room, a broken lamp becomes a maintenance ticket. Engineering looks at the air conditioner the guest complained about overnight. The front desk answers a billing question after the guest is already gone. One room becomes ready again, then another, then another. Multiply that process across dozens or hundreds of departures, and the repeatable room business starts to look less like rent and more like a factory that rebuilds its product every morning. And unlike a factory, the guests are sleeping inside the machinery. They notice the delay, they photograph the worn carpet, they hear the elevator, they feel the mattress. They compare the bathroom with the room down the street. A room can be physically usable and still be commercially old. That creates a decision the owner cannot solve with a spreadsheet alone. Cut the housekeeping schedule too far and rooms are not ready. Check-in lines grow. Reviews weaken. The owner saves payroll today and may lose room rate tomorrow. Schedule too much labor and a soft week becomes expensive before the first room is sold. A hotel has to feel fully available even when demand is not fully there. That tension shows up in staffing before it shows up on a financial statement. In a February 2025 industry survey, 65% of participating hotels reported staffing shortages. That does not mean every property lacked the same people or faced the same severity. It does show why labor cannot be treated like a light switch. A room that is not cleaned on time may still exist in the inventory system, but it cannot be handed to the guest standing in the lobby. A maintenance problem that waits until tomorrow may turn into a room the hotel cannot confidently sell tonight. A sales position left open may not create an obvious failure this afternoon, but the group booking that never arrives can leave an empty ballroom months later. The cost of missing labor does not always appear under labor. Sometimes it appears as a lower rate, a weaker review, a lost event, or a room that reaches midnight without becoming sellable. That is why the building never truly switches off. The lobby stays lit, elevators remain available, fire systems remain active, security still covers the property, the roof keeps aging, insurance renews, property taxes arrive, the reservation system stays connected. The night auditor may be looking at a half-empty hotel at 3 in the morning. The owner is still paying for a whole building. This is where the San Francisco case starts to matter. A property does not need to be physically empty for financial pressure to become serious. The guest sees whether the hotel is open. The lender sees whether the payment arrived. Those are different tests. The operating pressure also continues after a strong night. Beds wear out, carpet fades, furniture chips, bathrooms age, technology becomes obsolete. Elevators and mechanical systems follow their own replacement schedules. A hotel does not renovate once. It repeatedly rebuilds the experience inside the same walls. Some public hotel owner agreements require reserves equal to roughly 3% to 5% of hotel revenue for furniture, fixtures, equipment, and recurring capital improvements. That range is not universal. The exact requirement depends on the property and the contract, but the logic does not change. Every occupied night creates wear along with revenue. This is why hotel-level operating profit can look stronger than the owner feels. A property may report gross operating profit or hotel-level EBITDA after many operating expenses. Those measures are useful, but they can sit above interest, principal payments, major capital work, and other owner-level obligations. Instead of thinking of the income statement as one final number, picture a guest payment moving through the building. Part pays the people who serve the stay. Part keeps the lights, water, technology, and systems running. Part goes toward insurance, taxes, maintenance, and supplies. Part may go to a booking channel, a brand, or a manager. Part may need to remain in the building for future replacement. The lender is still waiting. Only after that does the owner discover what the occupied room actually produced for ownership. The difference matters because activity can recover before the owner economics do. An industry summary released in 2026 said, rising operating expenses were a major reason. Gross operating profit per available room remained at roughly 90% of its 2019 level. Guests can come back. Margin does not have to follow them at the same speed. The brand adds another layer. An independent hotel may avoid some franchise costs, but it has to create recognition, reservation reach, marketing, technology, and repeat demand without a major system behind it. A branded hotel may receive a familiar name, reservation technology, loyalty traffic, corporate relationships, marketing, and standards. Those things can be enormously useful because the hotel cannot wait until tonight to begin looking for tonight's guest. The brand is not simply decoration above the entrance. It is part of the demand machine, and the demand machine has a price. According to Hilton's public filings, franchise royalties are generally based on gross room revenue. Additional program fees may support reservations, marketing, technology, loyalty participation, training, quality assurance, and other services. Base management fees are generally based on gross operating revenue. Incentive management fees are generally linked to operating profit, sometimes after an agreed owner return threshold. That arrangement can work for both sides. The brand can send business the owner may not reach alone. The owner gives the brand a presence without requiring the brand to fund the entire building. But it also reveals what the guest cannot see. The company on the sign may not own the land. A separate manager may run the hotel. Another company may own the building. A lender may hold rights tied to the property. A joint venture may hold the equity. One lobby, several economic positions. Third-party owners generally provide the capital to acquire, build, renovate, and maintain managed or franchised hotels. The brand supplies identity, systems, distribution, and standards. The owner carries the property. The brand travels through it, and this is where location stops meaning a pin on a map. A strong hotel may have several reasons for people to stay overnight. A hospital, a university, local employers, an airport, a convention center, construction projects, government activity, or a year-round attraction. When one source weakens, another may help hold the week together. A fragile hotel may depend heavily on one employer, one airline pattern, one convention calendar, one attraction, or one short season. During the strong months, both hotels can look successful. The difference appears when the calendar changes. Return to San Francisco. Park Hotels and Resorts held the economic interest in Hilton San Francisco Union Square with 1,921 rooms and Park 55 with 1,024 rooms. Together, they contained 2,945 rooms and secured that $725 million non-recourse commercial mortgage-backed securities loan. Beginning in June of 2023, Park stopped making payments. The company said it wanted to reduce its San Francisco exposure and cited concerns including office vacancy, street conditions, weakness in return-to-office patterns, and a softer convention calendar. Those were Park's stated concerns. The public record does not support reducing the outcome to one cause. But now, the nightly contradiction becomes visible. The capital problem does not remove the operating system. A property of this size still contains rooms, boilers, elevators, fire systems, front desks, and reservations that somebody has to control. The loan and the hotel are moving on different clocks. June passes, then another month. The available room nights keep expiring. The missed loan payments do not disappear with them. In October of 2023, a court-appointed receiver took full authority and control of the hotel operations. Park stated that it no longer held any economic interest in the hotels after the receiver took control. That is the moment the sign above the entrance stops telling you who owns the economics underneath it. The properties did not need to vanish. The hotel operations did not need to end. The brand identities did not need to disappear. The prior owner's position ended anyway. The receiver continued controlling the hotels until completing a sale in November of 2025. The buyer assumed the mortgage loan. The sale price was not disclosed in the announcement used for this case. This is not proof that every large hotel is fragile or that every branded property carries the same risk. It proves something narrower and more important. The building, the brand, the operation, the debt, and the owner's economic interests are separable. A guest can stay in the same hotel while the answer to who owns this changes underneath the reservation. And that leads to the most important distinction in the entire business. A good hotel can be a bad purchase. The rooms can be clean, the staff can operate professionally, reviews can be strong, the property can generate positive hotel level income. If the buyer paid too much, borrowed too aggressively, inherited major capital work, or depended on permanently strong demand, good operations may not be enough to protect the ownership position. The hotel does not have to fail at hospitality, the investment can fail at arithmetic. Place two similar hotels side by side. The first has 150 rooms near a hospital, a university, several employers, and a year-round attraction. Its debt is manageable. Its service model fits the market. Renovations are planned before the rooms become visibly tired. Cash reserves exist for weak periods. No single source of demand holds the entire property together. The second also has 150 rooms. During strong periods, the occupancy looks similar, but this property depends heavily on one convention calendar. It was purchased when revenue was unusually high. The debt assumes that performance will continue. The rooms need work. The owner lowers rates to protect occupancy and relies more heavily on expensive booking channels. The ballroom and public areas still need enough activity to justify their cost. Then the convention calendar weakens. At the first hotel, a hospital visit still creates a room night. A university event still creates another. Employers and leisure demand keep giving travelers reasons to arrive. The hotel may lower rates on some dates or postpone a minor project, but it is not rebuilding demand from nothing. At the second hotel, the missing groups leave more than empty rooms. The ballroom sits quiet, food and event revenue fall with it. The owner discounts more aggressively. The lower rate reduces room revenue without reducing debt, insurance, or the need for renovation. Less cash makes the property harder to refresh. A more dated product makes stronger rates harder to defend. One weak demand source has now reached the room price, the event space, the renovation schedule, and the owner's ability to wait. That is a structural problem. The strong version of hotel ownership is not a property that avoids bad months. It is one that can absorb them without making the next season weaker. It starts with an entry price supported by realistic income, not peak performance. It has several sources of demand instead of one irreplaceable customer stream. The service level matches what the market will pay for. The brand and manager create more value than their contracts consume. Debt survives a weak season. Renovation money exists before the building forces the issue. The weak version may look better from the street. It may have the larger lobby, the famous sign, the crowded peak weekends, and the higher room count. Underneath that can sit fragile demand, expensive complexity, deferred work, and debt that requires ordinary years to behave like exceptional ones. That hotel can remain open. Guests can continue checking in. The owner can still run out of time. At the beginning, you pictured a building full of rooms that could be sold again every night. That part was true. What you would really own is a race between two clocks. At midnight, one clock erases every room you failed to sell. The other keeps adding payroll, maintenance, taxes, insurance, contracts, renovation, and debt whether the room was full or empty. The hotel makes money when tonight's demand outruns the building's permanent obligations. Ownership works when it can keep winning that race through the nights when demand does not.